just looking at my notes here. Yeah, so and Wally had referred to it as HP because I guess maybe that's the equivalent there in Canada. Um, but it's USA Hockey doesn't position it as high performance. There's actually a separate event for high performance. Level 5 is really more positioned for lifelong learners. Um, in addition to sitting in a room, so in Duluth there were over 400 coaches from 37 states represented. So it was pretty wide swath. Um, and then in addition to sitting in the big conference auditorium listening to keynote speakers, there were breakouts. And so there was a breakout sessions for 12U and 12 and under coaches, and 13 and over coaches, and then a goalie track. And those breakout sessions were very hands-on. And we had to design practices, we had to design dry land drills, and those breakout sessions were led by USA Hockey associated staff. The keynotes, there was, I think, four NHL head coaches. Jeff Blaswell from Detroit was the last speaker. Mike Sullivan spoke on Saturday. John Hines and Don Granato. Then there were 2 AHL head coaches for keynote speakers, 2 of the national team coaches, and then there were several women coaches as keynote speakers as well, in addition to a women's college coaching panel that was really quite good. Let's see what else. Some consistent themes. On the breakout sessions, I would say the overarching theme was better practice design for youth players. And USA Hockey is promoting a new practice design framework. It consists of 5 elements. The first element is fun. The second element is constant decision making. Third element is challenging, which they want the drills to be hard, but not too hard. It should look like the game. So no laps, no lines, no lectures, kind of a thing. And then the drills in the games should have a lot of puck touches. So all of the breakout sessions all kind of were designed to kind of help fill out that new coaching framework. Something that Wally and the rest of you guys might be interested in on the fun element. I don't know if you're familiar with fun maps. It's actually something to me is relatively new. USA Hockey, the director of female hockey for USA Hockey, her name's Heather Mannix, and she's kind of, I called her the director of fun. That's not an official USA Hockey title, but she's her education background. There's a PhD. I think in Washington D.C. area, but I might be wrong about that. But her name is Amanda Visick, and she's the one that is really the brains behind this fun maps concept. And Heather at USA Hockey is kind of in charge, or maybe made it her mission to educate all of us here in the U.S. about how to design practices that are fun and try to help teach the parents what the real concept of fun is. It's not, if the kids are well behaved in practice, we'll let you play a small area game at the end of practice for fun. And it doesn't mean that the kids are goofing off, which are some connotations that parents have when you mention the word fun. So if you haven't heard of fun maps, and just do a hashtag fun maps in Twitter, and I think you'll find it very interesting. We just got sent all of the presentations, at electronically yesterday. So I haven't had a time to go through them in detail, but probably the first one I'm going to go through is on the whole fun aspect. One of the breakouts, 12U breakouts, was specifically about how to incorporate fun into the practices and what fun means to youth hockey players. Then on the keynote presentation, there were some overarching themes, and I don't think it was planned. It just kind of worked out that way. So most of the high-level coaches spoke about practice design, how they design practices, how they run practices, and they did include a lot of small area games, but they weren't really so much in the small area. There were a small number of quarter ice or 1/8 ice drills, but many of the drills or games were in zone games, half ice games. And it made me think of the comment that Daryl made a few weeks ago when he designs games, at least for the older guys. He kind of wants spatially the net in the same, in the correct position. And I kind of thought of his comment when I saw much of the content that the high level coaches were sharing. And the other thing was made me think of Tom Malloy. Every coach mentioned transition. They threw out numbers like 400 to 700 puck transitions, possession transitions in an NHL game. I think every one of the high-level coaches had at least one slide, if not more, where they talked about making sure that they practice for transition. I think his name's Seth Applegate. I think I'm saying his name correctly. He's the head coach for the Rochester Amerks, which is an AHL team in Rochester, New York. And he indicated that the Amerks last year, or that's what we call them, they're Rochester Americans, they were in the top 5 for generating offense for the season. And he said he never practices 5-on-5 offensive play in his practices. He said he just doesn't do it. So that was kind of interesting. And then the last presenter was Jeff Blazel from Detroit, and his message was for us not to be copy and paste kind of guys. To not, a drill that Mike Sullivan showed may not work for us. So not just to take a drill that we see and drop it into our practice plan. That we should, put a little thought into it. And lastly, so in order to receive the level 5 certification, you're required to write they call it a thesis. So basically we come away from the level 5 conference with homework. And so all the coaches in attendance all have been given the same assignment. And that assignment is to, if you take your team or a team that you're associated with and do an evaluation of the current skill set and practice habits of that team. And after making that assessment, we are to design a minimum of 7 one-hour practice plans to improve the weaknesses and deficiencies that we observe. And then after those 7 practices have been implemented and the kids get to play through the season, you then have to write a summary of what worked well, what did not work well, what you would do different, how the team improved. So that requirement is due sometime between January 1st and the end of January 2022. So that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of the USA Hockey Level 5. It was quite an experience for me. I really enjoyed it. So I thought you guys might like hearing what was going on south of the border.